No, no, I'm actually from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so if you know Pittsburgh, you know, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
Yeah.
you know, Pittsburgh was a steel town. And my grandmother was an iron worker and worked for a company called J&L Steel. And so she was a steel mill worker. And when I was growing up, she always would like say, "Hey, Jason, like take out, you know, the trash or do a chore or Bob, you know, do some this or that." And I'd say no. And she's like, "I'll arm wrestle you for it." And I think I had to wait till she got really old and sick before I could beat her, because she used to spool steel. And she was like, a, you know, 5 foot, 105 pound Polish lady. And actually, oddly enough, my grandmother was Polish and Mongolian. And so I have Mongolian blood in me too. And but yeah, so she arm wrestled me, and she always has really strong hands, and, you know, from spooling steel.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things I learned, you know, we did. And because I think when you're a kid, you know, I'm 45. I was born in 76, so 86 Over the Top came out, like 84. Ghostbusters came out. We were all running around with, you know, backpacks on and squirting, you know, guns and stuff, pretending we're Ghostbusters. And 2 years later, Over the Top comes out, and we're all arm wrestling everybody, you know, which was a lot safer than punching people and pretending we're Rocky, you know. So
Yeah.
we were all arm wrestling everybody, and everybody, all like my friends in school, we all had arm wrestling. We just something we did. And my friend, or no, sorry, my junior year of high school, I had a hand injury. I don't know if it comes up on camera or not. You can see it or not, but
Yeah. I can see that.
I had a surgery on my hand, and I had a tendon rip in gym class. And my doctors told me they did the surgery, and my doctors told me that I would never be able to. They said my hand would always be like this. Too bad it wasn't this finger. Actually, I'd love walking around like this all the time. But they said, you know, my hand would always be like this. I'd never be able to make a full fist. I'd never have full strength in my hand. And I completely said, that's bullshit. I'm gonna have the strongest hands in the world. And so I literally started looking up, you know, there was no internet back then, you know. So I would I got mail, the company Iron Mind, who makes the Captain Crush grippers. They were around, and, you know, I would get flyers from them and stuff like that. And I ordered the grippers. And I remember getting them, and they hurt my hand because, you know, my hand was so sensitive from my surgery. But I just kept sticking with it. And I kind of got obsessed when I was about 17 years old with everything hand strength. And around that time too, that was 93, 94, my senior year of high school. There was you can look this all up. There was a Sports Illustrated magazine that came out, or a Sports Illustrated issue that came out, and it was called Arms and the Man. I remember that. And it was, I don't know if you ever saw that issue of Sports Illustrated.
I never saw that issue because I'm 40. You're 45. I'm 40.
45. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
But you can
So
look it up. So you can you can Google it and like find like archives from Sports Illustrated. And it was about arm wrestling. And I was like, oh shit, this is a real sport. And there was a big push back then around that time for it to be this, like 93, 94, to be an Olympic event. And the article was about a man named Dave Patton. I don't know if you know who Dave Patton is or not.
yeah, of course.
Okay, so and you know, and I was like, man, this is like the real guy, you know, and you know, they talked about Dave Patton and John Brzenk and these guys, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. This is like a real thing. And it was one of those things. So all of my at that time, but over that summer after I hurt my hand and I went through rehab, my friend's dad owned a roofing company. And so I would help out carrying 5-gallon drums, doing industrial roofing, you know. So I'd carry those 5-gallon, and my hands would hurt, but my forearms got really freaking big and strong from just carrying. My grip got strong. And I remember senior year arm wrestling people. I remember there was a dude named Tony Surdick, and he was arm wrestling me in high school, and they were like, you know, and I was just sitting there like, and I was like, you know, this was before trolling, but I thought they were trolling me. And then another guy came up to me, a kid named, I remember he was a quarterback from a high school, or I don't remember exactly what position, played high school football. And then Harry Delano, big dude. And I was always real small. Probably about 130 pounds in high school, you know, like 5'7", 130 pounds. And he couldn't beat me, and all these people, and I thought they were all fucking with me, man. I thought they were messing with me. And turned out I had to be good at arm wrestling. And so My mom, my mom's a super supportive person. And I told her about this guy, Dave Patton, and she was like, why don't you give him a call? And I was like, I'm not calling. I'm shy 17, 18-year-old kid. And my mom goes and looks up, and 411, like directory assistance, calls and says, hey, do you have the number for a Dave Patton in West Virginia? And they said, I have a Sue Patton. So she connects me, and it turns out to be Dave's mom. My mom talks to Dave's mom. Dave gets on the phone with me and gives me his workout, right? And he's like, can't tell anybody this. I'm going to give you my secret workout. That's cool that you stick with it, kid.
And they have some good workouts.
Yeah. And but yeah, so Dave Patton gave me a workout, and I started doing what he did. And this was like 1994, 95, no, 94, but it was before I even moved to Florida. And then I moved to Florida with my parents, and I started working with Universal Studios. But around that time, I went to I think it was like the 94, 95, I went to the Yukon Jacks, and I saw John Brzenk lose to Gary Goodridge in the super heavyweights. Alan Fisher and Dave Patton had a massive match back then. And, all these guys. And that was my first tournament just to watch. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember shaking hands with dudes going like, dude, these guys are different, man. This is different. And, it always was around guys that were, strong guys and strength guys. I was a stunt guy for Universal Studios for about 12 years. And, but yeah, and I met these dudes. Next thing I know, my first time I ever, the internet comes out at this time. And then in 2001, I reached out to a guy named Greg Helm, and he was the coach or the main guy for the Jacksonville arm wrestling team. And back then there was no, it's funny now because Florida's full of arm wrestlers, Orlando and everything like that. There was no arm wrestlers back then. This was like I said, early 2000s. And so I would drive 1 day a week. I would drive, or about 2 times a month. I would drive up every Wednesday, I believe it was, to Jacksonville, and learn to spar on the table, and they had the tables there and everything like that. And there was a bunch of really cool guys in Jacksonville, and entered my first tournament, and I lost because of fouls. The guy who beat me, I lost. I didn't know what a referee's grip was, so I moved in a ref grip and lost because of that. And the guys came up, he's like, dude, stick with it. You like, because I beat everybody else other than I lost twice to the same guy. And the way it worked out, it was I ended up getting like 3rd or 4th. I can't remember. And I went back and I ended up competing again. I won the Florida State's amateur at 154, 70 kilos the next 2 years in a row. I was 95. This is like 2002 and 2003. I don't know if you can see them. I got the let's see if I can angle the camera. I got the trophies. They're sitting way back there. And yeah. And my wife's picking one up. That, what year is that one? These are, look how cool. These are nice trophy. Let me see. Give it to me. Hand it to me. So it's first place. This was in Daytona Beach, the Central Florida State. These are heavy. And this is what I drink out of every night. I'm kidding. I'm like Al Bundy. I relive but yeah, this was 2001, and the other one's 2003, I think. 2002, 2003. And but yeah, and I was making a way. I was like the kind of like this there was a magazine that was just called The Armbender, and they did an article about me. I was like this up and coming like phenom, like flashing everyone. I went undefeated, Florida State's amateurs, and I was going to go nationals. I was going to cut and compete in the pro class in a national event, and then my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and that's 2003 on this one here. But my dad got diagnosed with cancer, ended up passing away in 2004. And between that time, I was working with the circus. I was working with Cirque du Soleil, and I was doing a hand balancing act. And because you're doing handstands, you're like this. And I remember one day I fell in my act because I was always training doing this shit. And I fell in my act, and I was like, okay, do I stick with, winning plastic trophies and t-shirts, or do I keep touring with the circus where I'm making real money? And I went with the job. I went with the circus, and I didn't arm wrestle for exactly 17 years. And I came back into the sport in 2018. 2018. I was living in Singapore. That's where I met my wife, and I had the privilege to get hooked up with the Singapore arm wrestling team. Shout out to you guys, Valen Lowe. and the guys over there, really great guys, welcomed me and Sarah, got me back in the table, got me motivated again to arm wrestle, because I was training jiu-jitsu full time. And I started jiu-jitsu when I was young, and trained jiu-jitsu full time, but I was getting really bad back injury, back pain, neck pain. And it was just, I felt like I was old, man. And and I wanted to do something still competitive, because it's hard, man, when you're older and you're married, to just get in the gym and, want to get abs again, Yeah. So, and arm wrestling is one of those sports. That's what's so wonderful about our sport, that you can be. And I remember looking into it again. I'm like, shit, John Brzezink's still around. Fuck, Dave Patton, or I mean, Devin Larritt, Alan Fisher. These guys, and I'm like, it gave me hope. I got back on the table. I still knew how to arm wrestle, but I was obviously super weak. You know what I mean? And I could beat like a regular person, like any normal dude. I can still arm wrestle, that kind of thing. But going against the guys in Singapore, we had guys from Kazakhstan come visit us, in Russia, and I'm like, oh shit, things changed a lot. Even when I had a big hand for a 54 guy, and I was just fast. And so I wasn't really that technical. And so the Singapore guys kind of started showing me techniques. And, we moved back to the States in 2019. And I had the privilege of, meeting up with Devin Larritt and Todd Hutchings, Michael Todd, Alan Fisher's, Sarah Backman. So I got exposed to all these different guys that helped me over the last, plus my guys here in Vegas, helped me out. And boom, here I am now, now back, about going on September will be 4 years back into the sport. And, I am a certified personal trainer and nutritionist. And I've been training people, for arm wrestling. I use my mind from jujitsu and all my years of jiu-jitsu, and I started incorporating that along with my training and understanding how, training works as far as, as a personal trainer, and understanding anatomy and stuff like that. And so here I am. And, I train a lot of the guys with the Vegas team. And, I know your buddy Arturo. I've helped Arturo a lot. Yeah. And, watch guys like that. I have a new young dude. His name's Sterling Walker. He's going to be competing in his first tournament, April 9th. And I'll tell you, man, if Arturo is watching, dude, that guy, it was his first time at a real practice or gripping up with anyone other than me. But man, dude, that dude was spanking everybody, man. And so I can't wait to see him in what he does in actual comp.
This is the first time this guy is going to arm wrestle. Like, he just started.
Yeah, he'd only arm wrestled with me. He was coming to my house. I got my table right there so that's how dedicated we are. My wife and I, we don't have a dining room table. Our dining room table is actually out on our patio, and our arm wrestling table is in our dining room. And so that's how I married the right woman. And,
actually, mine is too. I'm in an area I can't show you, but my arm wrestling table, I actually have two.
Nice.
I have the dining room, which should be it's my two arm wrestling table out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have our other table out on the patio, which is it's got my I have a pulley system from Arm Assassins.
Me too.
And, yeah, so I got my pulley out there.
We got the same things.
There we go. We got the same thing.
Sledgehammers, tables, pulleys.
You literally, if I cut my beard shorter, I'm just like a white version of you, or you're a Puerto Rican version of me. So, but yeah, man. So, I love the sport. I love the camaraderie. Thanks for having me on here. I know you and I have been kind of, chatting on Facebook, or I'm not sure Facebook, but Instagram here and there. I followed your page, you follow mine. And I always think you put out good content and everything like that. So it's cool for me to be on here and talk to you. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna explain people that are been watching this. This is being recorded, and you're just gonna play, click on play, and you're just gonna start hearing Jason talking. We're talking with Jason Latona from Las Vegas Armwrestling from Nevada, and I asked Jason to be on our show because I have been watching every live streaming he's done on Instagram about training and arm wrestling training, him and his wife. And I like the way he does things, and the way it's sort of like, to me, I was watching you train, and the way you do it looks like WestSide Barbell. But now you're telling me you're incorporated the jiu-jitsu training you had in your life into it, and you know, it got me. I got very interested. Every time you do a live and you're in the gym training, I always watch it because I like the way you train, and I incorporated things that you do on my training. I think they have been working, and I wanted to share those and that with the arm wrestling community for Puerto Rico, because we are a small arm wrestling community, even though we have in Puerto Rico kind of culture of arm wrestling, because arm wrestling has been part of the sports culture in Puerto Rico since the late 70s. It has its up and downs, but it's been here, and everybody knows what arm wrestling is. The name of my channel, it's PulseoTV, and that means arm wrestling in Puerto Rico. That's the way we call it in Puerto Rico.
I didn't know. I never knew what it was. I never knew why you I was going to ask you why you chose that name. So that's interesting. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, in Latin America, there's different kinds of names for arm wrestling depending on the country you live. Like in Spain is lucha de brazos. Okay. In Puerto Rico is pulseo. In other parts of the Latin America is pulso or pulsos. There's
pulseo. What does that translate to in English?
Arm wrestling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, arm wrestling. Because the word pulseo in Spanish is a verb like you doing something, moving something by force.
Ah, interesting.
That's what it literally means.
Interesting. Cool. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Like grabbing or pushing a stone or something, moving something by force. But in Puerto Rico, you say pulseo and everybody knows it's arm wrestling. Lately, like the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, everybody in Puerto Rico already started calling arm wrestling. They forgot about the word pulseo, but if you mention it, they know what it is.
Gotcha.
But now, like this new culture through social media and guys like you that have been putting up content in social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everybody has normalized the word arm wrestling in English, and everybody is using it, even in Latin America. And like I mentioned to you earlier when we were chatting, I'm doing this kind of podcast with guys that I like, and I want them to share their story with us. But I'm also trying to unite arm wrestling in Latin America, at least the Caribbean.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's awesome. Like, for me, like I said, I appreciate you having me on. And like I said, I follow your stuff too. And I always try to like and, help your algorithms out and stuff like that. So for me, it's not just the sport. I enjoy everything about it, and I always have. I always enjoyed strength sports and combat sports, and arm wrestling kind of ticks both those boxes. My childhood hero when I was growing up was Bruce Lee. I always liked Bruce Lee, and I was always fascinated by it because Bruce Lee said the two most important muscles in fighting are your abs and your forearms. He said your abs because so you can ability to take a punch, and your forearms dictate how hard you can hit someone without your hand, crumbling. And if you look at like guys like even today, like the fighter Triple G, you look at him, I mean, his forearms are massive, and he does a lot of specialty training specifically for his forearms, much like an arm wrestler does. And then, of course, with jiu-jitsu, I always enjoyed all kind of jiu-jitsu, but I enjoyed the no-gi, because I think I was better at it. But with jiu-jitsu, my ability when I would put guys in a rear naked choke or just grab a hold of them and stuff like that, they were always like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, you feel like a damn gorilla. And because they like in jiu-jitsu, a defense, I'm gonna put my mic down, they call it home aloning. When someone's trying to rear naked choke you, you do this to your, you'll see guys and they do this, and for me, and you can ask my wife this, I never cared if someone did that to me. I was always so damn strong that if I would just reach around their hands and just squeeze, and people would go tap, tap, and they go, what is that? Like, and I was just like, it's just because all the years of just forearms and squeezing and stuff like that, it makes you realize that, like, man, you can just be strong and squeeze that shit out of somebody's head. And, and I just always found that interesting. And so with us now, I appreciate you watching. Like, my wife, we both hit PRs again yesterday. I
Yeah,
do
I saw it.
follow.
Really,
Yeah.
right?
3. Yeah. Yeah. I think she had a triple or double or triple. I had 2 on my left arm and 1 on my right. And I think she had like a triple PR, which, definitely doesn't happen all the time, but it's cool when it does. But I will say for my training, I have not, um, and here's the thing, like, let's talk about training real quick. So, I've had people like Giannis Amelin, give me programming, Lachlan Adair, and my buddy Brandon Allen, of course, I do the show with him, the MornignBJ. That guy knows how to get strong.
Yeah.
But for me, I think arm wrestling is a combination of 2 things. Number one, you need to know how to get strong for you. And, for me, like I said, I got to train with someone like, Devin Larritt. I consider Devin a friend. I have Devin's number. He called me the other day, and I call, we have each other's numbers, and Devin's always called me when he comes into town. I consider Devin a friend of mine. But Devin, uh, the way he arm wrestles as a man who's 6'5" with a long arm and giant, it for me to adopt his style kind of doesn't make sense. No different. Like if I'm doing MMA, I can't look at a guy like John Jones and try to emulate his style because he's got an 84-inch reach and he can just do that. I got to find a guy who's built like me and shape like me and strength, and for me, Todd Hutchings, and his style of training just made the
Yeah.
most sense. And every time I went, back and, would do these things or this guy's workout or this guy's thing or this guy's advice, I always got feedback. And it was always like, man, you feel so strong. I went out to the King of Cali too. Again, I didn't compete. My wife competed. I went out there. Dave and Cowdepew bring me out there as an announcer and a commentator and the MC, and I do that MC work and stuff like that for them. But I got on the table with Sarah Backman. She was the first person I got on the table with, and I hadn't seen Sarah in about a year. And I said, "Hey, Sarah, can I see? Because I know she's training for her match with Gabby." And, so Sarah and I got on the table right-handed. Now, the last time we went right-handed, dude, she was whooping my ass, man. And she got on the table with me, and it was so nice because Sarah's so sweet. And Sarah, said to me, she was just in awe how strong I got. And she said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "I'm writing my stuff down," and we talked and got into depth about some training and stuff. And it was just, and I went out there and I arm wrestled some other people, at the con, other people like, said, "Hey man, can I feel," like there's a small team, out of California called the Compound. And, I was arm wrestling some of those guys and they were like, "Dude, what the fuck, man?" They're like, you feel so strong. And there's no secret. I'm like Todd Hutchins, where when people say, "Dude, how'd you get so strong?" It's not me. It's not like I have I found the formula. It's Brandon Allen who said this too. You can get strong doing, 3 sets of 10. The thing is, what I do is I write my shit down and I make sure on a weekly basis, and not just a week, I look at it the month, and then every 3 months, every 6 months, I know where I want to be as far as my strength. I think a lot of guys go into the gym and exercise. They exercise, but they don't train. Now, we have a very specific thing we're training for. I don't give a shit, realistically, how much I can bench press. I don't care how much I can do. I think, of course, all strength matters. But I'm training specifically for my sport. And I think a lot of people, even though they think they're training for arm wrestling, they're really just exercising. And I know that because whether you're someone on my team or whatever, I talked to Arturo about it and stuff like that, to give him a shout out, or not to put him on it because I like Arturo a lot. But I told him, I said, "Man, a lot of times you're exercising," because, I said, "Hey, you're going to the gym. What are you doing today?" "Well, biceps." "Well, what are you lifting?" "Oh, I don't know. I grabbed some 25s or I grabbed some." If you don't know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, how many you're doing, this and that, you're exercising, you're not training. And Louis Simmons, you know, head of WestSide, but the founder of WestSide Barbell, says a really great thing. And he says, intensity is not a feeling, it's a mathematical equation. And a lot of people think they're training hard, but if I look at your numbers, they're not, you know. And I don't give a shit how I feel. Like, yeah, I'll be totally honest with you. Yesterday, when I went in to do my 1 rep max day, it wasn't like, I guess I'll try one. No, it's a programmed day that I'm doing this exercise on this thing. And I didn't feel great. I didn't. I felt, when I was warming up, I felt kind of hurt. And my left, I thought my right arm, honestly enough, felt better than my left. But my left, I hit 2 PRs. Now, that's where Todd Hutchings says, pain doesn't equal weakness, weakness equals weakness. And I agree with that, because there's been so many of my workouts that if I, based on how I felt, I'm a little tired, a little sore, I would have gone in, did a little bit of exercising, and I would have left. But me personally, I like seeing the numbers going up. I track everything. I know exactly what I lift. And ask the guys on your team, ask most guys. You'll be like, what's your back pressure? 1 rep max. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I do like 70. Well, that don't mean anything to me. I know that this is my weight. And if I know every week I'm getting stronger, or every month I'm getting stronger, I know my training is working. And that's my philosophy with everything, you know. The same way on a scale. If I know, well, are you losing weight? If I don't know, I go on the scale. If it's 145 or I'm 180 today and I'm 179 2 days from now, it's working. If I said, oh, I've been dieting, I haven't eaten shit, man. I haven't eaten anything. But my scale weight isn't going down. I know my diet isn't working, or something's got to change, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on training.
Actually, I'm keeping quiet and I'm listening to you, and we think a lot alike. Everything you said, I agree with it, and I apply it myself. I'm also, or I was, a power lifter, like Brandon.
Yes.
I was a national champion in Puerto Rico in 2019. I don't have the numbers nearly like Brandon's. I've never gotten that strong, but I was champion in Puerto Rico, and I agree with you. You gotta go to the gym every day with an intention, and you gotta know what you're gonna do. And I remember when I was younger and I went to the gym, I just went in and left it, like you said, exercise.
Yep.
But every number, that's the weight on the bar, has to mean something to you that day.
Yep.
And that can be applied in arm wrestling, in powerlifting, in any sport. And I don't actually arm wrestling competitively anymore in Puerto Rico, because I'm doing this kind of stuff and I'm working this and I'm dedicating myself to this. And I believe that if I want to do this correctly, I gotta be in a neutral spot. I cannot be a competitor. Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to going to the States and compete. And I'm training for that, to whatever tournament I could get in or go, depending on the dates. But I did just what you said. I started following Todd Hutchings. I actually interviewed him, and after that, we kind of been texting and DMing ourselves about training.
And he's great.
He's great. He's a great guy, nice guy. He helps anybody, and he doesn't ask anything in return. And
I take pride in the fact, that Todd, I was going to say, I take pride in the fact that Todd follows me and my wife on Instagram, because he only follows like 20 or like 50 people or something like that, and like, but I met Todd through Ryan Bowen when I was living in Singapore. We had, I knew some of his friends. And so, I kind of reached out to them way back when they were doing all their filming, with Todd, filming with Ryan and everything like that. And again, like I said, I was away from the sport, to give context, for 17 years. I didn't know how people were training. I started watching, I Googled like arm wrestling on YouTube. Ryan Bowen and Devin came up. I'm like, I know Devin. Who's this Australian guy? And, and I see him doing some stuff with Todd Hutchings. I knew Todd's name. And I was like, oh, that's what people are doing. So I guess I'll start doing that. And like anything, man, I'm not going to lie. When I first started, I fucked up a lot and I did a lot of shit wrong. And,
Yeah,
you know, or I did
we
it.
all did. We all
Yeah.
did.
And then I did it. Not only did I do it, I didn't, then I started doing it right, at least what I thought was right, but really it still wasn't right. It was, you know, if I go back, I'd probably give myself a C minus, you know what I mean? The guy that was training that stuff. Now I got it down. Again, I maybe I'm a B plus, you know, I don't, I'm stingy. I don't know if I give myself an A, but, I know I watched my wife, you know, beat one of the California, you know, one of the best women in California, and my wife beat her at the last King of Cali. And I'm watching, you know, her progress and her this, and everyone's saying, "Man, Sarah, you're so strong." You're like, "What do you do?" And she says, Jason, and Jason's my coach. Tim Bresnan came up to me and gave me an awesome compliment, man. He walked up, and I'm not trying to, I just, because it really meant a lot to me. And Tim Bresnan came up to me after, because he heard what I was giving my advice to Sarah before her match. And he said, "Hey, brother, you're one hell of a coach, man." He's like, "Everything you told her was fucking spot on." And I was like, "Dude, Tim, man, that means the world to me, you know, coming from you." And then when I'm getting this input from people like Sarah Backman, who's like, she's like, "Oh my," like she was so excited for me. She's like, "You're so strong." And I was just like, "Hey, thanks, Sarah." And I said, "I've been working. You whooped my ass before, you know." And I like losing. I know that sounds kind of weird, but you know, I like my first super match after I came back to, I had a tournament in LA Fit Expo. I got second out there in the 85s, and then Derek Smith put me in a super match against one of his like up and comer guys. Now I didn't know that this guy was like, came in second at Amateur Worlds and all this stuff like that. You know, this was a couple years ago. And I was just kind of getting back, and this guy beat me, and I was like, wow, okay, cool. And I was like, this is awesome, because I will never lose again. I came back about a year later and arm wrestled that same guy. I went to him, and so no, you know, it's not like he's gonna, like, you know, say, "Oh, with the drive," you know. I went to him the same way I did last time, and dude, he was just like, "What the fuck, dude? You feel like you got 10 years stronger than you did?" And I said, because I was so motivated by losing that I'm like, I ain't losing again, man. Not to you, at least not to you. There's plenty of people that can still beat me, so I'm not pleased, you know, but it motivated me so much, you know. And so, you know, I got the April 9th. I'm going to be competing here in Vegas. You know, my weight's good. I'm dropping, which is why that PR actually meant a lot to me yesterday, because I'm down about 10 pounds off of my normal walk around weight. So the fact that I can be 10 pounds lighter and still hitting PRs, I know my training's working. I know I'm dialed in, and I'm excited to compete in Vegas here in April 9th.
Actually, I'm planning to travel to California,
Oh, awesome.
Close to the summer, because
Okay.
my father-in-law lives in San Diego,
Oh, great.
and I'm trying to plan to stop in Vegas, visit Arturo, maybe hang out with you guys, train or whatever I can. Because
Yeah.
actually, I was trying to get there to the Nevada States Championship. That was the 21st of May.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was trying to aim for that tournament, but there's some stuff. I don't think I will make it on that date.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanna on this trip to California, I wanna stop in Vegas to hang out with you guys, and then when I'm already in California, in San Diego, maybe hang out with Kyle and
Yeah.
practice or train with Kyle DePew in San Diego on our way to Los Angeles, because I wanna take my kids to Disney and Universal, but Los Angeles.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, yeah,
So,
even if you don't get to go to Vegas, man, I'll get Arturo and ask some guys and maybe come out there and have like a practice or something in San Diego. You know, I love going out to San Diego. I love Dave DePew, Grinder Jim, and Alan Fisher, all those guys, Paul Joseph, all the guys from San Diego are all nice, really nice guys. And LA's got some really great dudes to train with, you know, Ole Mosley, Scott Wynn, and Vajgan and his crew. And they've been, again, everybody has been nothing but nice and helping to me. You know, Vajgan is always a great dude. The only guys I lost to the last Nevada States or Nevada, the Sin City Arm fight, I came in third, and the only two beat me were them damn freaking Armenian world champions, you know, David and Darren Stepanovich or whatever his name is. They're the only two guys.
I was planning, and I bought the ticket and everything to go to that tournament in Iron City, Iron Bar, the Eric's Photos Gym.
Yeah. And that's where my wife.
I bought everything, but I got sick and I couldn't go.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, my wife is the general manager for Eric's gym there, Sin City.
Actually, so. Eric coached me when I was a powerlifter.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, he coached me when I was. I remember I had a 600-pound bench. It was under Eric's training.
Wow, that's awesome.
Then I tore my pecs a couple of times. Not benching, arm wrestling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both 2 times.
Oh, that sucks.
Wow, because the way I pull, I kind of drag, and I'm a heavy guy, and I put a lot of strain on my pec, and I tore them I think it was the minor one, the minor muscle.
Yeah, pec minor.
Yeah, the pec minor on both sides. I don't think I have them attached to anything anymore.
What do you weigh?
Coach, even Scott Mendelson coached me when I was a powerlifter too.
What do you weigh right now?
Remember me.
What do you weigh right now?
Right now, I'm weighing like 280, 285. But
you're big.
5'11".
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm only 5'11".
No, I'm saying you're thick, so I can't tell. I mean, you look thick from it.
Yeah, I'm not that tall. I'm only maybe 5'11", maybe 6 feet, or with 6 feet with big shoes or something. So I got nothing to like. The super heavyweights are like really tall guys right now.
That's the hard part. And that's the reason. Yeah. So for me, that's the reason I cut weight, is because when I was competing at 85 against, I didn't feel guys were stronger than me. I felt guys could out leverage me on the start. And you know what I mean? Because when you're starting, and it's now listen, if all things are fair and you got the best ref ever and they're going to make them come back, but it's exactly what happened to John Brzenk and Devin at their King of the Table match. You know, John's at the front of the pad like this. Devin goes to the front of the pad, and instead of them making Devin start back here where he should be starting, they didn't. And most of the time, you're probably going to get screwed over. At 76, and for me in 65, now I don't feel like I'm being, out fucked by the angles and stuff like that. So if you beat me, you're stronger than me, and good on you. You deserve to beat me. So, but I don't feel like it's like I don't get cheated. You know what I mean? But all arm wrestlers cheat. So
actually, I even develop a technique with these 3 fingers to kind of fight back those long arms.
Yeah.
But once they catch on, it's very hard. And
it is
like I got a lot of power and side pressure. But if a high hook is like venom to me,
Yeah.
It's very difficult to go against a high hook in a high post for us that guys that aren't so tall, because like me, I'm not that tall. I'm a big guy. I'm thick. I can't get on the table, like a thinner guy could get on the table, because
that's something that Eric Spoto struggles with. He's so big, and thick in his chest. It's really hard for him to get engaged. And everyone thinks that Spoto is like this inside puller presser, and he's not. He's a top roller. He's outside. He pulls outside, and his hand is ridiculously strong. But that's why in that match, and I was standing right there, I was rooting for Eric. And unfortunately, when I heard that Chance Shaw pulled out and Eric was going to go against Mike Aiello, I was like, fuck. If there was one guy I would pick to beat Eric in just stylistically a bad match, I'd say it's Mike Aiello. And Mike Aiello, as handsome as he is, arm wrestled very, very, very intelligently. And he literally pulled Eric into a hook, and Eric, instead of being here where he's used to being, was right on his bicep. And I'll tell you, dude, Eric does not have strong biceps. Eric will be the first to tell you he doesn't have strong biceps. Not in relative to.
He has a big arm. It's like Louis Simmons say, big is not strong.
Strong and like strong. I said, let me be very. Eric is extraordinarily strong, but not where not in his biceps. He's a much better pusher, massive try. I mean, dude, the guy does like skull crushers with 315, you know, but,
No, I've seen him
yeah.
doing very impressive with 5 plates,
Oh
500
yeah.
pounds.
Yeah. It's
You know,
insane.
so
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
insane.
But
Yeah.
like me, like people look at me and say, oh, this guy I'm wrestling must be the strongest guy. But really, I'm not. I'm just big, but I'm not that strong. And being this big, you know, in certain ways works against me.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just like it's like being like Daniel Cormier as a heavyweight. He's got such a, you know, short reach in comparison to these guys that are like John Jones that can just pick at you, you know, and from far away at, you know, at 185 pounds or 205, when he would, you know, fight at 205 like that. When you're that long, it's an advantage. Look at all the guys right now in the UFC, all the champs pretty much are long dudes. Max Holloway was probably, I mean, I know he's, you know, not the champ anymore, but he's probably the best featherweight of all time. It's tall, thin dude. Israel Adesanya. Now, I don't know if you watch MMA or not, but I mean, if you get it,
I don't follow, but I know.
Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champ, tall, skinny dude. You know, John Jones, considered the best light heavyweight ever, tall, thin dude. And in these combat sports, it's a real thing. You know, you have a real leverage advantage. You know, so it's no different in our sport. You have a real advantage when you can be that tall. Yes, if the small guy can get it inside, but at the onset of the match, the tall arm has a huge advantage, you know, over a guy like us with shorter arms.
A tall arm and a big hand.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Like I don't have long fingers. I have thick. I mean, because I have it on tape. It's funny. Me and Alan Fisher, the last time we gripped up, the first thing he said to me is, "Man, your hands are so big." I'm like, "Wait, Alan Fisher just told me I have big hands." Now, Alan Fisher's hands are like, you know, it's like an attachment on top. But my hand's probably is thicker than Alan's is. His fingers are longer, but my hand is I mean, it's hard to tell there, but my hand is thicker. Most people when they grab my hand, that's the first thing they say is like, "Dude, your hands are so damn thick." And you know, it's like this part of my thumb.
I don't have big hands, but I do have thick hands, you know.
Yeah, I have thick hands, but
sometimes it causes a problem to grab onto my hand because it's so thick. But
yes.
I don't have long fingers.
I don't have long fingers either. I have a long, big palm. My palms are big. My fingers are short. So again, it's good for me when I top roll because it's hard for the, again, it's all matters. Everything. I mean, everything's, there's so many variables, you know, how long the guy's fingers are, how can I set up correctly, you know, and, you know, that's the thing I like to think of myself as I'm always learning. I love the science of any sport, you know, and so the science of arm wrestling, knowing that if I'm going to hook you, that I'm starting here. If I'm top rolling you, I'm starting here, you know. I love that stuff matters, you know, and then the guy knows that I know that, so he's going to change. And, you know, I like all that stuff. I like the chess game of it all, you know. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to. I've exchanged text with DMs with Devin sometime, and he's actually you know, acknowledged the existence of PulseoTV on YouTube, and that has helped us a lot.
Yeah,
but I've always wanted to have a conversation with Devin and tell him that I always say that Devin turned arm wrestling from a sport, arm wrestling training from training for a sport into a science.
Yeah,
because everything changed once Devin started doing his videos on YouTube, these old videos of his training. Everything changed because I don't think everybody in arm wrestling knew or thought about training for arm wrestling like Devin started doing. And that revolutionized training for arm wrestling, at least in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And a lot of people say, you know, is arm wrestling a strength or combat sport? And I always say yes. That's my answer. Yes. Here's the thing. And it's both at the same time, and it's always changing. It's only a combat sport if you guys are the same strength, if two men are the same strength. But it's a strength sport if you guys are both have the same amount of technique. For instance, this is the Bob Brown saying, not mine. Bob Brown has all the techniques in all the know-how to beat Levon. No question about it, but he's not strong enough to do it. So at that point, it's a strength sport where someone who can outlift me, you know what I mean, in every fundamental, say, gym lift, I can get on the table and arm wrestle them and beat them. Well, why am I beating them? Well, number one, I probably, because most of the time I'm talking a novice guy, it's just a strong gym goer. I train at a powerlifting gym with a lot of really strong guys that can, got 800-pound deadlifts and, 500, 600-pound squats the bench press and 1,000-pound squats. And these guys on the table feel like nothing compared to me, arm wrestling wise. No, I'm talking, again, there's plenty of arm wrestlers that can beat me that are smaller than me, but I'm talking a regular gym strong man. They don't feel like anything. Now they're like, oh, it must be all technique. No, I'm stronger than them at this specific thing. No different than if I saw you bench pressing and you saw me bench pressing. Now you can bench press a hell of a lot more than I can. You know what I mean? I wouldn't look at me bench pressing, 250 and then watch you bench press 400 pounds. And I go, well, your technique's better. No, you're way stronger than me. You're way stronger than me. You may have better technique, but if you did it with shitty technique, you're way stronger than me. And a lot of strength guys don't want to admit that kind of stuff. It's weird to me, like if I think my wife can probably squat more than I can, without me having to shit myself or blow a disc, in my back. But it doesn't mean her technique's better. No, she's probably got stronger legs and butt than I got, but that's a hard thing for people to grasp, that I'm stronger in this kind of stuff. And then, yes, you learn how to, just like in bench pressing, you could take a guy that's got, no form or shitty form. You could say, hey man, squeeze your this, do this, put more bar, and they're going to get 5-10 pounds stronger, but that's it. You know what I mean? It's not like you going to go, I'm going to give you the perfect bench pressing technique. And all of a sudden now you could bench press 135. Now you can bench press 315. No, if you can bench press 135 and I'm going to give you the best technique ever, you might be able to put up 150 for one. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's about it. We're stronger than you, you know what I mean? Or you're stronger than me or whatever it is, so.
Yeah, and I remember Scott Mendelson when he started arm wrestling. He started with Baskin, and he benches over 1,000 pounds, and he said I couldn't move his arm.
Yeah,
and I encounter that in every day when anybody comes up to me and says that wants to try, and bigger guys or whatever, and they can do nothing because they are not strong on this specific thing.
That thing, exactly.
And they got to learn. Because if you get a rookie, someone that wants to start arm wrestling, you gotta go slow with them and don't push them too hard, because it's a hard sport to start with, because all the pains and aches you're gonna get, it might scare them away. But that's what makes us stronger than the other guys that can squat and bench and deadlift a lot more than us.
Well, again, because it's inherently a very awkward, not, you know what I mean? Like, it makes sense when you bench press. You're like, if you're in a kid, in gym class, even in a kid, you do push-ups, and you watch your dad do push-ups, you do push-ups, pull-ups make sense. You're lifting yourself up. Arm wrestling isn't that we don't do that motion, or human beings really don't do that motion in a daily basis, so it's a really awkward kind of thing. Bicep curls, you make sense. You go get groceries, help your mom as a kid pick up groceries, you kind of bicep curl them, and walk around with them like this. Where arm wrestling, it's like, I tell people that, like, what, from a gym perspective, which muscles is it? I tell people it's a lat drag, a wrist curl, and a chest fly, all at the same time. That's kind of what, it's kind of like the best way I could describe it. But that's kind of what it is, depending on your style. But it's kind of those, that all at once. But, Bob Brown, like he joined I don't know if you watched your MornignBJ with Bob Brown the other day. And it probably was my favorite episode, because I do love Bob. I love talking all things. I like having intelligent conversations like that. Like this conversation right now is a fun conversation to me. Even though I said to you, I'm like, dude, I'm going to do half an hour. I'm like, we're already an hour in, and I'm still going because I love it.
watching the clock, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, because again, it flies by. You know what I'm saying? I looked, I'm like, oh shit, it's 8 o'clock already, you know? But I enjoy and my wife's cooking. So as soon as my food's done, I might leave. But I can smell we're making bacon. She's making bacon. I can smell it. It smells great. You know, but I love the if your listeners, you know, if they can watch, you know, want a great insight to training, that episode with Bob, Brandon, and I is really, really great, you know, because we talk about a lot of things, and Bob, I love when Bob agrees with me, not because I like being right. I like the confirmation of that I'm on the right path. You know what I mean? Yes. I'm like I said, I'm always learning. You know, the Bible says that, you know, that wisdom loves correction. So to me, in order to be the wisest person, you're kind of always getting corrected, you know, and I like that. I like always, you know, where a lot of people go, you know, you're wrong about that. They're like, well, I'm not wrong. You're wrong. I like going, yeah, I might be wrong about everything. No, I know I'm not going to get into politics or conspiracy theories, but I know even you and I feel like, you know, a lot of stuff you post and shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's fucking common sense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get you banned or flagged or whatever, but if you think doing this makes you immune to disease, you're kind of a fucking idiot, you know? So, well, that's you know what I mean?
I already lost, I got to be careful. I already lost one IG account.
So. I'm saying, I'm sure, but hey, you know, hey, but that's all over with now. We got to fight Ukrainians and Russians now. So that's all gone. No more variants. Thank God we're all safe. Thank goodness for that. So, you know, now we just got to worry about our gas prices. You know what I mean? So, but hey, that's a whole nother conversation. But again, you know, but like I said, I love that's like these conversations like this. I like them all. It's great. You know, we bring me on again. I'll tell it. We can talk about.
I will.
You know,
we can talk. I want to do this. Like, I like the style, how you train and how you visualize your training. But I do want to hear from Brandon, because he's a strong power lifter, and what I've seen him do and hear him talk about his training, it makes me curious, you know? Yeah. And like I said, I want to share as much as possible with all the audience from Puerto Rico and the Caribbean that are watching us, you know?
Well, Todd Hutchings messaged me and we were talking about, I'm going to see if I can find what he said. Cause my microphone gets loud and soft. I don't know why it does that. But Todd Hutchings said, and I don't want to misquote him. That's why I want to bring up, I don't know why my internet's not working. Todd Hutchings said something really cool about Brandon. And I'm going to bring it. If you give me a sec, let me see if I can find it. He said something along the lines of, let me see. He said something along the lines of, he said, Brandon is really smart at, let me see, man, I don't want to misquote him. He said, Brandon, he goes, that's a smart man right there. It might have been another conversation. Oh, here's what he says. He said, Brandon knows what he's doing. This is Todd saying this. He said, he'll take pieces of what he needs when he realizes he said, Brandon's good at making large muscles in a dynamic game. And he said when he realizes, he'll get strong when he realizes what we're doing is moving little muscles in a static game. And I thought that was interesting because that's what Todd said. And, you know, and it's true. Brandon knows how to he knows what he does. He knows he's one of the best in the world, the best of all time doing that. And there's definitely more data on how to get strong doing bench pressing or deadlifting than there is with arm wrestling. Even Todd said this. Todd said this when he was on the MornignBJ. People said, why don't you charge for programming? Because he said, I don't know if it works. He said, I know it works for me, but I don't have the data yet. And Todd's just, you know.
I always say this to people. When anybody asks me for help, for training, for powerlifting or arm wrestling, whatever, I always say this is trial and error, because what works for me, it doesn't necessarily work for you. I agree. You gotta try it and see how it works.
I agree. And when I make programs for people, The guys who I make programs for, I tell them ahead of time. I don't like to make programming for anybody that I have not physically felt their hand and touched them on the table. Because to me, and I've said this over and over again, I've said this, and Louis Simmons said the same thing, work on your weaknesses. If everyone says, what do you think is the most important exercise for arm wrestling? I always give everyone the same answer. The one you're not doing. I'm going to say that one more time. The one you're not doing. If you said to me, what's the most important exercise I should be doing to get better at arm wrestling? I would tell them, or I tell you, the one you're not doing. Because as men, as strong guys, and people, we like doing, people in general like doing things that they're good at. Most of the time when you're arm wrestling, you know why you started arm wrestling? Because you're probably good at it. And you're used to beating people until you run into some, 130-pound guy who's like Vajkin, you're like, what the fuck, And because we're good at it. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait, compared to the guys that are great at it or not so good at it. And so for me, when you say, what's the most important exercise? It's the one you're not doing. And it's funny because I guarantee if you would program someone else, you'd probably program them the best way to get yourself stronger. And a lot of times, I was like making programs for people and I'm like, man, if I followed this, I'd be really good. You know what I mean? Because I'm not even doing that because I'm like, and so it's kind of fun. I think it's interesting that the way we are, people and, human beings are interesting like that, because you know what to do. For instance, if I said to you, hey man, I'm struggling losing weight, I guarantee you could help me get on a diet, but good luck following that shit ourselves. Yeah, I'm here.